Welcome back, everybody. We are back at it with a brand new week, a brand new episode coming right for you guys.
Yep, we got the crew back and to stay too. I mean, I can't foresee us having another solo session anytime soon, but be Stoph and I today. We're going to be talking about how to grow the back of your legs, your hams and glutes. So we'll get into that today. But yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I don't even know what it is, but for me, it just feels like it's been another month since we recorded, even though it was literally last week. So,
Well, it's just because we just haven't been chatting too much between episodes, where normally we're like talking every day. So I think for me, that's why it feels like forever. Like I noticed it a couple days ago. I was like, damn. I was like, I feel like even though we wrote the podcast, I feel like I haven't talked to him in a while. But yeah, I think it's just because of that.
Yeah. It's just one of those fluke times, though. It is what it is.
Yeah. Both going through shit right now.
The Ringer. But speaking of the Ringer, the workout that nobody wants to do except girls.
Yeah, and that's like 3 times a week. It is just glutes.
But yeah, 3 to 4 times a week well, no, they'll do glutes and hammies too, because hammies are part of their pose that they do.
Yeah, but if they're competing in wellness or higher, they do a lot more emphasis on quads. But if it's bikini or just not competing at all, there's not much quad work done. There's a lot of glutes and hams, but mostly glutes. Good concentration of glutes.
Which is I was gonna say, I out of the gals that I know, they'll in their leg days, I see maybe 1 or 2 quad exercises max.
Yeah, I mean, quads will help build everything, I mean, just like legs in general. So legs in general make up about 40% of your overall strength, day-to-day strength. That is, obviously you can leg press way more than you can do anything else, but just living your daily life, a lot of your 40% of your strength comes from your legs. That's why they say lift with your legs, not from your back, because you can lift a lot more with your legs in total. But yeah, it's just like with quads, it just kind of rounds out the overall look. So I think that there should be a lot more emphasis on quads for a lot of women in comparison to focusing on glutes and stuff, because they put way too much emphasis on it, and it just doesn't look right. And like they also need to grow their abductors and adductors more, and it's just I don't know. It's just coming from a bodybuilding standpoint. I think that there's a good way of working everything, not having one concentration. But hey, if that's what they want to do, then that's what they want to do.
Yeah, and you actually brought up the leg press during that little section you had right there, and I think just starting there and really identifying like, hey, leg press is really just a show exercise in my opinion. You do get a workout, you do hit, like you can hit different muscle groups depending on where your foot placement is, but just compared to other things, it's not it. Like, you guys could be doing so much more and better movements than just like the super cliche Planet Fitness going to go to the gym, does leg press for 3 sets, and then does something else. Like,
yeah,
you guys can be doing a whole lot better than leg press.
I think leg press has its place, and I can attest to you could truly make a leg press extremely difficult and build crazy whatever muscle group off of it you want. I just think that they're, like you were saying, it's there a lot of the time is a better movement for whatever muscle group you're hitting. But a muscle group that is very slept on when it comes to leg press is glutes. Glutes on leg press is phenomenal.
Get that high foot placement, absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. So glutes is so here's my stance on legs. Glutes for me isn't much of a focus because I build glutes extremely easily. I barely have to hit them. I hit them for one movement a week, every week, and it's just the way I've just always been able to grow them, and I don't want them to be unproportionate. But for me, when people say squats, really you should be using squats or quads. Like barbell back squats, that should be for quads. Obviously front squats are too, but if you have a quad focus, you're going to have a very, very productive squat. Glute focus squats are going to take a long time to learn, but on top of that, I think you can have a better workout with the quad focus. So for glutes, for me, stiff leg deadlifts is a really good one, or or leg press for me. So with what we're going to be talking about today is mainly going to be about glutes and hams, most likely, because quads I think we should have for a whole separate episode because it can be so complex how to hit quads. But hams and
I think
glutes,
also, I think also with quads is that it's if you think of the like stereotypical things people do in leg day, quads are dominated in it, and
yeah, people
hammies and
naturally,
glutes are kind of slept on, especially with men working out. So I
yeah,
think that's kind of why we should focus more over on the backside.
yeah, people do naturally focus on their quads, like their quads kind of take over naturally. And I think just comes down to mind muscle connection. But quads, so the way to look at your legs if you want to make it easier, especially for guys, is to kind of look at them like your arms. So your hamstrings are your biceps, your glutes are your shoulders, your quads are your triceps, and your calves are your forearms essentially. So that's the kind of way to look at them, and that'll kind of make it easier to understand the movements that you need to be hitting for them. So like, like a leg press with high stance, high narrow stance for glutes is kind of like doing a shoulder press in a way. Or like if you do like glute kickbacks or like glute press in a way, or a hip press, it's kind of like doing side lateral raises. So it's the way you look at it is up to you. That's just one way I look at it. Just like your hamstrings being your biceps. When you do lying ham curls or kneeling ham curls, whatever it is, you're essentially doing a curl. Like that's why it's called a curl. You're doing a bicep curl, but with your hamstrings. And then stiff leg deadlifts is kind like there's not really much I could really compare it to. Um, I guess you can kind of compare it to like spider curls in a way, but like at the same
Uh,
time.
Stiff legs are kind of it's such an isolated move. Maybe overhead curls just from how isolated your arm position is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Even that's a stretch.
Yeah, there's not really a comparison because there's nothing that you can like do with your biceps that like keeps your forearm for the most part straight and still working
Yeah.
it. But anyways, yeah, so that's how I look at it. And it's an easier way of looking at things. And um everybody builds glutes in a different way. Everybody builds hams in a different way. It's just for me because, especially because of pinning for tests and all of that in my glutes, it's just it grows way too easy. So I never really have to focus on it. But hamstrings is an important muscle group, especially if you're competing classic physique and up and want just overall well-rounded muscles. But we also can't be sleeping on abductor and adductor muscles as well. Those are very, very important, and those will help round out your legs really well. And then a lot of guys tend to forget about. So that's also something to consider too.
I think also that almost like a reason why people or guys don't train it. And yeah, this is again very tiered towards guys in this episode because one, Paul
Mhm.
and I only have the experience of guys, but two, women tend to work out their legs 3-4 times a week, so you really have no reason to be listening to this episode anyways. um but I think another like hamstrings suck, they suck to work out, and I think that drives people away because to hit them good for a workout, you need 2 to 3 exercises on that one muscle group. And I think the burnout happens so quickly that people think that just one movement is enough and just call it a day. Like, do like laying down leg curls or something like that and they do it once, they hit their 3 sets, 4 sets, whatever you're going towards, and they feel a good burnout and they're like, all right, cool, we're gonna go hit something else in legs. So I think that's kind of a reason why people don't train them the way that they should. And obviously Paul and I mean, I have, oh god, I think 4 hamstring exercises in my lift. I don't know what your leg day looks like, but it's I have a lot focused towards it just because my coach and I identified like that there's a lot of work that needs to be done there, and in order to achieve that goal, you need to overwork those hamstrings because also when you're walking around, your quads and calves are basically what are driving your legs around. So
Yeah.
hamstrings need that extra attention and love in the gym.
Yeah. The way I do it is for me, it's two quad. So I have one leg day a week. It's two quads, two hams, and one glute movement essentially on my leg days. So give or take about 5 movements. But they're hard as shit. Um, Excuse me. The other day, so typically, well, all right. Here's so really it's six. It's like either two or three quad, two or three hams, and one glute. But whatever I hit three of, I hit two of the other. So like I'll warm up with like either a movement of quads or hams. So like either leg extensions or hamstring curls on a machine. And then I'll get into whatever I'm doing. So I don't really count that first movement as like a full movement, as is more of just like a warm up. And I'm not really actually doing any working sets. But it's just to kind of like warm up the joints, warm up the adductors, and kind of get my knees and ankles ready and all of that. But like recently, I only ended up doing three movements on my leg day, which I'll post in the blog on our site, which is hdhcast.com, by the way. You can check out our new website, newly updated. But for me, it was I warmed up with leg curls at my new gym I go to now, and hit their hack squat that they have. It's a very high angle hack squat, which I'm not used to. It's probably like 55, 60 degrees. It's pretty high. And it's not like the rail isn't like super lubricated. So it's not like a super smooth movement. Not to the degree of like a brand new piece of equipment. So I'm like hitting it, and I was on like, I think I started off with a plate, and I'm like, okay, this ain't bad. I got like 20 out of it or something for quad focus. Then I put on two plates and I get like 14. I'm like, all right, let me throw in a quarter on each side. And then I get like 10. And then I do like another 10 on it. And then I do 8. And then I drop set back down to one plate. So I take off the 35 pounds. Then I take off another plate. And, each one of those I do a set. And then I do a set with the plate. And I didn't realize it, but I fucking fried my system. And I just blew up my quads way too much. I also I put some extra salt on my pre-workout because I wanted a pump. But that ended up being the downfall. God damn. Every time I'm on this podcast, I'm always fucking yawning.
Mm.
So,
which
ended up being
which
my
is
downfall. What's
which is
that?
ironic. I was gonna say it's ironic because this is like our lives, and
Yeah, I know.
yawning generally displays boredom, and we're not bored at all during this podcast.
Yeah, they say that like supposedly you yawn if you have too much air in your system or something. I've read
Stop
some bullshit
breathing.
about that.
Stop
Yeah,
breathing.
yeah. I just got to start holding my breath more. So yeah, I just fried my system. It ended up being like kind of like I pulled away from my workout because I went too hard on that. And for me, I've puked plenty of times hitting legs, but it's just not, to me. It's just not worth it. It it just means I time my food improperly, right? So I time my food improperly going to the gym, and I just got super fucking nauseous after. And if I get nauseous, I just can't think about my workout as good as I could, because my mind is focused on trying not to puke. So it pulls away from my workout. So I got nauseous. I did stiff leg deadlifts for glutes after that, and I just called it. And like it was still a good workout. My quads are still sore. Like my glutes are still sore. My hamstrings didn't really get much of a workout, but it was still a good workout for my quads and glutes. But it just was hard as shit to try to push through the nausea. And I was driving home, and every time I tap the brakes, I feel like it's gonna fucking hurl over my dash. It was not fun. I hate that. I hate because like we should not be glorifying puking during a working set or like during a workout. You shouldn't have to. It just means either your body's not agreeing with some sort of anything you ate or drank, or you just improperly timed your food. I hate it. I hate being nauseous.
Yeah, I mean, I've thrown up once or twice, but not nearly as as described as you've talked about. So that I do like starting with, or you had hack squats pretty early on in that particular lift.
Yeah,
Um, and I do like hack squats because of how multimodal it is. It's kind of like how multimodal leg press can be, but it's a far better movement in my opinion.
yeah, I agree.
Just also because of how difficult it is. Like leg press, like you can put a lot of weight on, but at the end of the day, it's not like you're not dying really. I mean, you can if you can if you push it, but when you get to that hack squat, even your warm up set sucks. Like
Hmm.
my warm up set in my current plan is 20 reps, and by the time like 15 rolls around, I don't want to be there anymore, and
Yeah.
that's only set one. So I do like that that's in yours as well. Especially
Hmm.
you said that was just a 3 movement lift. You said,
That was by accident. Typically, I do 5, but
yeah,
hack squat would be typically part of a 5 movement workout,
yeah.
and I do it in the
Right
beginning.
now, right now, my coach has me on an eight movement leg lift, with the eighth movement being a superset. So basically, essentially 9 movements.
Hmm.
And it honestly takes me like 2 hours to do the whole thing, and because of the intensity he has me going at, I'm dead. I'm absolutely destroyed by the end of it.
Hmm.
And then I still have to do my cardio following it, so it is a very rough time. But the reason why I like that we're talking so much about hams and glutes is that, let me take a quick look, but off the top of my head, I know I have one, two, three, four. I got 4 hamstring and glute things that I do. It's one glute and then 3 hammies, but they suck. And like I mentioned earlier, after just the first one, I'm ready to call it, because
Hmm.
I might hate hamstrings more than anything else. But
They burn.
they do burn. And obviously, all of my hamstring exercises, they also activate glutes. That is kind of a choice thing that my coach wants me to do. Like, obviously, you can isolate hamstrings, but
Hmm.
uh, in the dips of all the sets, like as I go down for like a good morning, which is the first hamstring thing I do, you can purely isolate hamstrings, but he wants me to have a thrust up at the top of the set and then also deeper in the bottom of the set to also activate glutes. So more or less, I have 4 hamstring, 4 glute. Because I don't develop size very no, that's a lie. I don't develop width very well in my legs. I develop size decently. Like I had it's it's a real weird comparison. It's like I have a lot that sticks up through the top, but I don't have a lot of width.
Hmm.
So that's been a goal of ours to increase that. But for those who don't know, good mornings are they I don't know how to properly emphasize it, but I hate them. I don't know how your feelings are about them, but I can't even load a ton of weight on them just because of how deep I go into my each of my reps, and
Hmm.
it's like my starting set is just the bar, because again,
Okay, so you're
also
using the bar. Okay, I was
yeah,
about
I
to
mean,
ask that.
granted, I am doing 15 to 20 reps as the goal range, because my leg day is heavy volume, like
Hmm.
heavy volume. Um, so just doing the bar for that first set, and I only really get up to, let's see, 115 was where I my top set last
Hmm.
workout. So uh and hitting hamstrings also later in my workout. I do all my quad stuff first, and then it's all hamstring and glutes from there on out. um so I that's just kind of how my leg day looks. I didn't really get into the super specific stuffs, but uh hammies suck. That's the overall message here.
Yeah. For me, good mornings with a bar to me shouldn't really be in your workout. Not you particularly. I'm just mean in general, because there are movements that are less taxing on your joints and on your overall system, because like putting a bar on the top of your back like that and bending over is not very good for your joints. It's not very good for your lower back. If you're going to do good mornings, V squat good mornings are a good alteration or alternative to them. So you just put, just like it's just like a bar where the weight is on your back, but it's also in a fulcrum, so it's not so heavily on your back that you have to worry about, stretching your lower back and stuff like that. It's you can also go way heavier weight, so you could also be way more specific with how much you actually hit. Where with good mornings, like as your top set was 115, you can't put too much weight on the bar before it gets way too heavy. And with a movement like that, 1 pound feels like a million pounds.
Oh yeah.
So That's why I like V squat machine, or good mornings more, because you can lift a lot more weight, which means you can really refine how much you're actually lifting. But it, like, aside from good mornings, I don't even hit those. For me, I do more straight leg deadlifts than anything. Um,
I
for
got those in
focusing
there
on
too.
hams. Yeah, so
Yeah.
for me, I would do that instead. I think that, like, that's what's hard about hams, is that there's only so many ways you can hit them. And I try not, whenever I hit legs, I try not to repeat the same movement. So like, I'm not going to do like lying leg curls and then do like kneeling leg curls, because it's essentially the same movement. It's just how your body's positioned. Um, so I try not to do the same thing. I try to hit it differently. So like, sometimes what I do is like either straight leg deadlifts and like leg curls, or I'll do leg curls and maybe like a banded squat of of some sort, banded squat machine or something. I used to do Jefferson squats a lot, which Jefferson squats are really good for just your overall legs. There's not really one muscle group to target when you do Jefferson squats, but I would typically, most of the time, I do straight leg deadlifts and leg curls. But it also depends on what I'm doing too, because if I've already taxed my core too much with like squats or maybe lunges, walking lunges, then I won't do straight leg deadlifts. I'll do I'll do my leg curls in the beginning, and then I'll do like a banded squat that more pulls from like my, the band, the actual belt will pull more from like kind of like where your lower back meets your glutes, so it's not so like hard on my core. um so that's what I would do that's what I do personally. uh but and then for glutes, it really just comes down to either leg
Well,
press, walking
before you go there,
yeah.
something for straight leg deadlifts that I think we should also talk about is the range of motion, because when you're doing a straight leg deadlift, you feel like you're at full contraction when you're only about halfway into the rep. Do you know what I mean? So, like, when you take the weight down and you get to about the top of your, maybe the top of your, no, not the top of your shins, but like just a little bit but underneath your kneecap, and like you feel as though your hamstring is almost fully activated there. You have to push through until you're almost at like your ankles, because you want that deep range of motion to
Yeah.
really stretch out and work all your hammies, or not all your hammies, but the entirety of your hamstring.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that is slept on when doing the straight leg deadlifts, because like I said, and actually what how I mean, we've talked about this in the past with legs, like just in passing, but you have to be able to push through the pain, like push through that pain level to start to see true results. And so with straight leg deadlifts, you really feel it. Like, you, if you were just doing them like for any other muscle group where you just go until you feel the muscle contraction, then you release the rep. Um, for straight leg deadlifts, that's really just once you clear past your knee if you're doing them right. But
Hmm.
in order to get that true full range of motion, you're basically going down to your ankles. Like, it's a deep range of motion. Um, and I think that's something that isn't, at least I don't see a ton of people do straight legs at Empire, but when I do, it tends to be these half kind of reps, because you do feel the activation there, and you could consider that a rep, but if you want that true deep range of motion, you got to go all the way down.
Yeah, my thing with these movements is like, for hams, I almost always have at least a plate on there on each side. So for straight leg deadlifts, that is. So I almost always go down to just before the weight touches the ground, for the full stretch. And then as far as contraction goes, I go until I'm like 80%, or like not 80%, 80 degrees. Like, I don't fully straighten out. I like come up and slightly straighten out, because at that point, then you're going to be squeezing your glutes, which is what I do for stiff leg deadlifts. But for hams, I come like most of the way up, until the bar is, I'm not fully locked out, is what I'm saying at the top. I'm not fully locked out. I stop about 90% of the way up, and then go all the way back down and stretch the negative pretty slow, and then try to squeeze my hams as much as I can at the top without squeezing my glutes because I want to isolate the hams. When it comes to stiff leg deadlifts, which I think are amazing movements too, that I go all the way to the bottom, all the way to the top, and squeeze the glutes to the top and lock out. That's how I hit those. And you kind of almost like with stiff leg deadlifts, you kind of almost want to like thrust the weight a little bit
Mhm.
forward with your glutes to truly contract them. Um, but one thing I can say for damn fucking sure is I miss squat press. If you have a squat press at your gym, which I don't think you do at Empire, but if you have a squat press at your gym and you're listening to this, please use that machine. It's so fucking good. It's good for every single movement. And I don't know why every gym doesn't have it. Vanarchy has it. My home gym, the one I started in, and I didn't realize what I had until I left it. But it's so good. You can truly hit every single leg muscle you want, and hitting glutes on it with your knees like higher than your fucking forehead is ridiculous. So if you have a squat press, use it because there's no other better movement for any muscle group. I would argue all day that I could grow gnarly ass legs simply from squat press. That's it.
Mm.
Like if I just hit squat press on hams, glutes, and quads, and then use it to, contract my calves every few months or so, then I would have fucking gnarly legs. That's just from hitting that one machine. It's so good, just the way it works mechanically. It agrees with me like crazy. So if you have the opportunity to use it, use it. But if not, at least that's how I do it. And it's tough because like every gym, I mean, you'll experience this too, Stoph, is that every gym has a different focus with legs. And um, Vanarchy, if you talk to Van at Vanarchy, he'll say, well, legs are half your body, so you should have half the machinery for it, half the equipment for your legs, which makes sense. Half the equipment in the gym should be for your legs because half your body is your legs. But that's not the reality for most gyms. The reality for most gyms is maybe a quarter of the actual equipment is for legs, and then the rest of it's for upper body. So you got to find a happy medium with whatever gym you go to. Some gyms have a good, leg equipment count, but the equipment might not be the best. Some of them might have overly amount of leg equipment and not enough upper body. Some of them almost have no leg equipment. I mean, it just depends on wherever you go. You got to find that happy medium. And either way, you can have a good workout if you have a leg press machine or a hack squat and a bar. Really, you can have a phenomenal workout with those two things, or one of those two things, either the leg press or the hack squat, and then the bar on top of that. So you can have a good workout. It just I fucking miss squat press, man. I miss it so much.
And I know you bounce around gyms, like, you hate going to the same one over and over and
Yeah.
over again. So are there any in the Carolina area where you are, that have that particular squat press?
Um, that's a good question. I think I think the office gym in Lake Wiley, South Carolina has it. I think I've been there once and I'm pretty sure I saw it there. Um, Anywhere else, probably Fitness Factory has it in Charlotte. Most likely, they have so much leg equipment, but I can't remember if they have a squat press or not. I'm not sure if I saw one there. And then the last place to check would be Crusher Coliseum up in Statesville. Um, One of those might have it, but it's not a common piece of machinery. I can't think of a gym that stands out in my mind whether or not they have it.
I was gonna say Empire certainly doesn't have one, and for damn sure PF doesn't have one. So
No, 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 no. It's a good machine, so of course PF won't have it. But it's fucking phenomenal. I miss it so much. I miss Vanarchy in general. I wish I could take Vanarchy, pick it up, and bring it here because I would. But um, you know, I had to move on. But yeah, it's such a good piece of machinery. Especially if you're hitting quads. Hitting quads on that thing is fucking insane. I would argue quads on squat press destroys hack squat all day. But that's just the way my body works. It just really, really agrees with me. But yeah, it's good shit. And I remember I was getting like 8 plates on there for like a solid like 10 back in the day. It was so much fun. But I fucking miss it.
Um, yeah, we don't have that, but in terms of activating, um, the because that works out. You can essentially get the entirety of your legs within that one machine. Um, I
essentially.
think that I think that just loops me back to hack squats because for
You
me
could.
when I'm hitting my hack squats, I do because I mean I'm doing 4 sets and I almost bounce my feet around to like mid like sets to just kind of get a whole good leg pump.
Mhm.
Like I'll start off with the centered so that it's mainly quad focused, but down in the real bottom of the rep, you then get a little bit of hamstring activation as you just start your push. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of what that centering is for. But then I'll kind of drop my feet way way down, so then it's like a pure like it's nothing but quads at that point because your knees are almost going to touch the platform when you go down.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'll make my way back up and have almost a true glute press. That's almost what it is when your feet are up all the way at the top. And I
Yeah.
won't do this every workout like this because hack squats are the second movement in my leg day every time. So I
Mhm.
won't do like this weird bouncing around thing every single workout. Probably like once a month I'll do it. But it's just a really good way to activate a whole bunch of stuff, and it's so taxing. It's so taxing. That's why I've fallen in love with how the hack squats can hit or just how they, interact with my legs because the way you have to get out of that machine too, like once you lock the supports back in, drop it in, and then you then have to get your legs to drop and fall out of it. Like
Yeah.
it's very easy for you to just straight up fall out of the hack squat machine.
Yeah, which there's the hack squat at Elite Fitness. If you're in the Charlotte area, go check it out. It's a black hack squat machine. I forget what brand it is. I'd have to take a look at my footage of it. They have a platform on it. It's like 3 inches tall, and it's screwed in so that you can get deeper into the hole. And
Mm,
I remember there was one time I think I hit like it's either 3 and a quarter or 4 and a quarter on each side on that, I think. And it's a pretty standard like angle hack squat. It's like 45 degrees or so, like pretty standard. It's nothing like high, nothing low. But you can just get really deep in the hole. And I literally like I got I so this is the funny thing. So it was a guy who was squatting me, and I think it was a 3 and a quarter, and I was like hoping for 10. I was like, I'm gonna aim for 10. And I just felt super driven for that movement for some reason. I just had this motivation to really crush it. And this guy's a power lifter, and I was like, I'm gonna hit like 10, but can you keep spotting me so I can hit more and more and more? He's like, yeah, I got you. So I get up to 16, and like my legs are so on fire. I literally could not get the rep back down. Like the negative, I would have failed the negative. So I called it, and I like put the safeties on, and I literally fell forward and my knee slammed into the platform because I
oh
couldn't
no.
stand up anymore. I was fine. I was fine. It didn't hurt or anything like that. I just like just the way it was built, it didn't really hurt, but like I literally couldn't stand it anymore. And he was like, all those 16 reps was all you. He's like, I didn't even touch the movement. I was like, damn. I was like, I thought you were because it felt like it. I could have sworn the last like 3 or 4 reps he was pulling on it, but I like literally collapsed and I couldn't stand up for a minute. And then I finally stood up and I was like, yeah, nope, I can't do anything more quads now. I'm gonna go do ham curls and just sit down in the machine. But it was fucking insane. That is one machine that like if you're gonna go to any gym for just one piece of machinery, that's the example I would give. Would be that hack squat machine. And like one of the biggest dudes in the area as far as like size goes. I saw him there when I was going there, and he's like, I want to start coming here for leg days simply because of this hack squat. Where there's great leg days everywhere else, like especially Fitness Factory, they have so much leg equipment, it's insane. But that one hack squat is so unbelievably good that people will get memberships just for that hack squat, just for leg days. And
Hell yeah.
I don't blame them. It's like for me, it's like Vanarchy and the hack squat. If I could pay, I probably would pay $25-$30 a month just so I could use a hack squat in every leg day. I probably would. So it's just for me, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. I miss it. But yeah, it's a good machine.
What I always find funny too at Empire, our hack squat is right next to the leg press, and I've had times where there's somebody on leg press, and they'll have 6, 7 plates, like an okay amount of weight on there, and they're yelling in their reps. They're like doing the whole like super like like just full yells, and then
Yeah.
I'm right next to them with it's only 2 plates loaded on. So if you just look at purely the amount of like plates loaded on, you'd think, oh wow, that leg press dude's getting it worse. But my yells from the hack squat just completely trump whatever comes out of the guy at the leg press, because I'm in such pain when I'm in the hack squat, especially with the high volume sets that I have to do. Like rep 20 is tough to get to, and then
Mhm.
it does scale down, but it's a 20, 15, 12, 10 split. And so my last one, getting that 10th fucking rep, oh my god. And so my whole thing is that like I go super saiyan when I'm yelling on that thing, and the people who would be right next to me on the leg press are also making noises, and it's just not comparable because you're in such greater, leg workout and pump on the hack squat than you are on the leg press. And it always makes me laugh when like someone's making noises with like 2, 3 plates on the leg press, and I'm right next to them doing the same amount of plates and dying on the hack squat.
I mean, it's subjective, you know. I mean, it's possible at some point somebody was saying that about you. Somebody was saying,
Great.
"Look at this guy in leg press dying, and I'm over here doing way more in hack." I mean, it's just subjective, and um, I look back and I remember when I listened with my first coach on hack squat for the first time at Anarchy. I never really touched hack squat. I just, for some reason, for me, it just at the time I didn't really understand how to properly hit it, and it just didn't feel good when I was hitting it. It didn't feel right. But then he taught me how to hit it properly, and I think I got up to like a plate and a quarter, and I was like dying at like 12 reps or something, or like 10 or 12 reps, and like now I could probably go warm up on a plate and a quarter on that for like 20. It's just, strength comes with muscle size. And at the same time, it's like humility comes with it too.
Mm,
Because like at the time, I thought hitting 8 plates on leg press was like the shit. I was like, damn, I'm fucking huge now that I'm hitting 8 plates. I look back, I'm like, you had fucking no idea what you were doing. Like I
yep.
could hit, like I don't really even when I do leg press, I don't even touch 8 plates because it's not as effective. Like I'd rather do 6 plates, really slow movement, like a minute to a minute and a half actual movement for the set than like banging out 8 reps on 8 plates like I used to and just doing it as fast as possible. It's like it's just the quality over quantity. It's just the mindset. And that, I mean, at least that for me was just because of my like earlier mindset. And it was always like if you knew me, like you did know me kind of back then, but like if any of you listening knew me back then, I fucking apologize because I look back and I'm like, I was so fucking cringy. Like, I was talking about like dedication and like doing what it takes and all that shit. And I had no idea what any of that fucking meant. And like, I thought I did, but I really didn't. And I didn't really know what like hard work was in the gym or hard work was with food and all of that. Like, I was eating, I wish I ate that fucking meal plan now. And at the time, I thought I was dying. I was like, this shit sucks. Like, I have to eat fucking this shit every day. And looking back, I'm like, damn, I fucking miss it. Like it was just trying to put on size, and it wasn't the best quality size. It was more like lifestyle kind of stuff. So we're just trying to learn at the time. Like, I don't know. Well, you and I will have a private conversation about that at some point. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus here, but basically, for me, it was just like I wasn't taking it super, super seriously, but it where was I trying to go with this? So it was a lot of calories and a lot of carbs. And knowing what I know now about the human body, it was not ideal because I now know that I'm very, very sensitive to carbs. My blood sugar is all over the place. I need to be on top of my BG. And, my prolactin builds up really easily. My estrogen builds up really easily, regardless. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things I need to pay attention to besides just eating food and lifting in the gym. So at the time, I was eating tons of carbs, tons of protein, all of that. And then I got whatever I wanted to eat on Saturdays, whatever it was. Like I could have whatever I want and a dessert with it. And I thought that was standard. I thought that's just how it was, like when you're putting on size and all that. But like looking back, I'm like, fuck, dude, just that one refeed alone. If I could have whatever I want for a whole meal and a dessert, I would be so unbelievably satisfied. But at the time, I was like, man, this is so hard. Like, you have no idea what it's like. Like, I'm strict as hell. I'm like, dude, you had no idea what strict was. You had spaghetti every day, you piece of shit. Like, I would love to have spaghetti every single day. I'd be so happy. So it all just comes with, it's subjectivity and uh like you're starting to see that now. You're starting to, like, if you look back, you'd be like what was I doing? Especially now that you're with your coach, you'll start seeing that. You'll start seeing like older footage and stuff and like older photos, and you're going to start seeing the differences and start seeing the progress, and um all of it comes with time. But yeah, legs is just one of those things where, um, especially in the beginning, you think you know what you're doing, and then you mature and everything starts to click. You know how to hit your glutes and how to hit your quads and how to squat, and everything starts to click. And then all of a sudden, you like look back and it's like, wow, why was I even trying that weight? Because there was no way I was activating properly. Like I thought, like I was hitting a lot of V squats, like reverse V squats. So I wasn't like in the machine, but I was using it kind of like the good morning stance, but it was V squat machine, but I was doing front squats with it essentially. And I was doing like 4 plates on each side, which to me now that's lightweight. But at the time that was heavy as shit. And I was fucking my knees because I was just going way too heavy. And anybody, a lot of people will agree you can easily fuck your knees with legs being a beginner. I know someone who had to get surgery on both of his knees at the same time, or I don't know if it was at the same time, but definitely on both of his knees because he fucked his legs squatting too much on machines and leg press and all of that. And you can really, really damage your joints when it comes to legs. Everything else, just be careful of tearing a muscle. But like, it's kind of hard to like really damage a joint when you're hitting anything upper body. You'd have to really try, really, really do something fucking stupid. But legs, you can easily damage your knees, like no problem. Oh, shoulders, actually, you could fuck your shoulders pretty easily. I was thinking elbows,
Yeah.
but you could fuck your shoulders pretty easily. So be careful of chest, really hitting chest with shoulders. But with your legs, anything you hit legs, you could really fuck your knees really, really easily.
Well, I was going to say, coming from the athletic background that I have, my knees and ankles are already shot. And
Yeah,
so I've been squatting for, I don't know, 2.5 years now that I've been in the gym seriously. And I didn't get I didn't have sleeves or anything until we talked about that. Like, what was that? It was like 3 months
a few
ago we
weeks
had that
ago.
conversation. No.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it's
Man,
been
it
a
feels like a
while.
few months ago or a few weeks ago. I mean, all right.
But I just assumed that the cracks and pops were just a normal
Yeah,
part of squatting. And so now that I have my, the iron, what are they called? Iron brand,
Iron
Iron
Bowl.
Bull. There we go.
Yeah,
Iron Bull sleeves. I still have the occasional like crack that I feel because my knees are just shot already. But
yeah,
um, it's certainly a really good preventative measure to take,
yep,
especially as we have these leg conversations. So, like my hack squat and my squats, those are the only times I actually use the sleeves,
yeah,
just because those are my highest tension movements when it comes to the joints in my knees. And it's certainly something to really utilize if you have like me, the athletic background where it's like, all right, my body's basically falling apart already, let's try and continue to lift on it.
yeah,
um so listening to your body is kind of the leg maturity that Paul and I are talking about right now, because looking back at, older things, like, yeah, throwing every plate in the PF on the leg press, yeah, that was cool as shit, but at the same time wasn't activating it, like, my muscles the way I should. That was probably a 3/4 rep, not even a full rep, because it,
yeah,
leg maturity hadn't developed yet. Um and actually having mind muscle connection, because that's my biggest reason why I have tell people not to do leg press, because you can just leg press and you can push it, and at the end, like, that's it at the end of the day. But what needs to happen is you need to be able to really have your mind muscle connection and think about exactly what you are contracting as you push the weight forward, and that's something that I don't think everyone built. I don't think it's something you can build on the leg press. You have to build it with smaller auxiliary movements and then return to the leg press. So I think that's personally why I stay away from it. But back in my earlier lifting days, leg press was everything, and I was like, I'm going to move as much weight as possible and not pay attention to anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing like your photos and videos, and I remember, I don't know if you remember, but I remember telling you like be careful. I kept telling you to be careful with the leg press, because like I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I was just like, if you're going to hit leg
Unsolicited
press, just be
advice.
careful. Yeah, I'm not going to give you unsolicited advice. So I was just like, be careful, just be careful because it can be dangerous. But I remember like you say, I don't know if it was you, I forget who it was. I think it was you at Planet Fitness, and you're hitting like 8 plates or something, and it might have been 8. I'm not sure if it was, but you were hitting a neutral stance, and I'm like, he's using every muscle fiber in his legs to hit that weight.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, there's not really much he's doing right now. But if
And
that's what he wants to
that's the whole
do,
point.
yeah, if that's what he wants to do, then that's up to him. I just hope he's being careful with his joints. But I was like, I was like, I'm not going to give unsolicited advice, like I said, but I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you're not really doing too much. And you're going to learn that. And I remember thinking that. I'm like, this will come, that you will learn that you're going to look back and be like I wasn't really doing too much with that movements particularly. You were putting in the work, but the effectiveness wasn't 100% there, and the efficiency. So I just knew that you're gonna learn that, which is cool because I look back and I'd known what I had learned, and I thought I was the shit. But looking like guys who I still look up to guys then, but the same guys then I do now, but like back then I was like trying to act like I knew what I was talking about. But then now I'll talk to these guys and they're like, yeah, the progress you've made is fucking insane. Like I was talking to a guy the other day and he gave me a great compliment because this dude's fucking huge. And I was like, dude, I fucking would kill to be your size. And he's like, I really appreciate that, man. He's like, you're killing it. He's like, I love the progress I'm seeing you make. And, um, my coach is saying the same thing yesterday. He's like, from what I can remember, he was like, he kind of never really whispered it, but he kind of said it like quietly. He's like, he pointed to me because it was like 3 or 4, it was 4 of us lifting yesterday. And he's like, it was great to see him grow. Because like he's kind of seen me from the beginning to end as far as like my progression goes, and we're still going. So the progression's there, and you're going to have that progression. And legs, we've said this a million times. I mean, kind of like back too, but like legs especially, it clicks. Like it's not like a gradual progression that like you start to understand how it works, like arms or shoulders or something. It's like one day you're hitting legs, then the next day you're like, holy fuck, I'm like, this makes sense now. Like I'm actually hitting this properly. Like it just clicks, the my muscle connection clicks. And that goes for a lot of things. I mean, with posing too, which you'll learn, like you'll see your posing now in a couple of years and be like, what was I doing? And I've been saying the same thing. Like for every single time I see a throwback, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, I was like, what was that posing? But I'm at the point now where all I can really do with my posing for men's physique is just improve my routine. We did posing yesterday in the back of the gym, and coach was like, because I got on my front pose, and for me, posing's always just kind of, for the most part, clicked. It makes sense, especially men's physique. It just makes sense to me. So I posed, and he's just like, "You fucking nailed it." He's like, "Boom," and he's like, "All right, turn around." Then I do the back pose, and then we start doing like an actual posing kind of like not really a routine, but he's like timing me 10 seconds to the front, 10 seconds to the back. And we did that like 6, 7 times in a row. And it fucking sucks because you're flexing like everything in your body, and you're trying not to keep in your gut by not breathing as much. Like you want to breathe, but you want to breathe in specific ways. And it was hard, but he's like, dude, you're posing, you're going to show up to a regional show and pose at a national level. He's like, your posing is on point. He's like, you can't get any better posing than that. He's like, so you're good. He's like, we don't got to tweak anything. We just got to work on your routine, like transitions and actually like how it looks on stage as like an actual performance. But my pose itself, the poses themselves, I fucking nailed. But back in the day, I look back and I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, how did I not understand what I understand now? And it's not like I've done hours and hours of coaching with posing. I've just watched a lot of videos and gotten a little bit of critiquing here and there. Which we talked about yesterday. I went to that seminar. King George Brown and so George Brown and Jeremy Potvin were critiquing me at that seminar, and I was fucking shitting myself because these guys are huge in the industry. It's like you're like a classic physique competitor and you're posing in front of fucking Urs. Like that's the level I'm talking about. Like these guys competed at the Olympia. So I'm like fucking shitting myself and they're critiquing me. And I was pretty much on point for the most part, a little tweaking here and there. But like if you take that into account and try to practice upon it and improve upon it for the next time somebody's going to critique you, you're going to be next level with it. And that goes for legs too. If you train with someone, you like your coach or something like that. I know you haven't really been training with your coach. Hopefully you get to train with your coach. That'd be dope. But when you train with your coach one time, take that information and apply it and keep applying it. Then the next time you train with them, you're going to be that much better. So you got to keep applying this knowledge, keep applying. And it's practice makes perfect. And in a sense, we are kind of practicing for a show in a way, but really it's the journey. So if you keep applying this good knowledge to every single back day and you improve upon it 1% every single leg day, for instance, you do leg day and you keep improving upon it 1% every single time you lift, you're going to be next level in a couple of years, So you got to keep applying this knowledge. It's that we got to keep drilling it. But yeah, that's how legs goes. It's just, the knowledge that I've learned over the years, I keep applying, and I look back and I'm like, fuck, I had no idea what the fuck I was talking about. Even though I knew the concept, just not the proof of I knew the proof of concept, just not how to properly apply it. So went on a little rant there, but yeah, it's legs is something you got to keep practicing. You got to get better at it. It's kind of a skill in a way, and it'll come in time.
Well, I think more so with legs than any other muscle group, your gains or your progression will be not solely contributed, but heavily contributed by your gains mentally, like how you're able to think about your movements and how you're able to actually,
Yeah.
progress your mental side of things, which is, what you just talked about right there. Like looking back upon things you were doing years ago and me looking back things I was doing a year, 2 years ago, like it's a drastic change and that just takes time. It's like there's no like overnight switch to change your mental. You have to actually work through it and start to understand where you went wrong. And when you try new movements, you're probably not going to do it right the first time. You have to come back and do it again until you get the form down, and then you start overloading the weight, and then you start to progress. And I think that's a big key right there. Not holding on to the mindset that I can do this now. I'm gonna, succeed in this right now. Like you have to have the mindset that we talk about it over and over again that it's a marathon, not a sprint,
Mhm.
and that comes with everything legs. Like the way I hit my lying down leg curls a year ago is nothing compared to what I'm doing now. Like, and that's such like a isolated movement that you think it's impossible to mess up. And I'm able to, because I do a warm up set, 2 to 3 feel sets, and then an all out set. And the way I can hit those and feel my pump, well, not my pump, but feel my muscle contraction and how my hamstrings are activated is completely different than how I was doing it a year or two ago. Because, a year or two ago, my lying leg curls was strictly let's move the weight. Like I thought it was cool. I'm gonna pin the whole machine and just curl the whole thing. I'm doing it for like 6-7 reps, and I'm like, this is cool. And I
Yeah.
didn't really focus on anything besides moving the weight. And now I focus on how my muscle feels and how my muscle moves in the movement, and the weight is almost secondary. Like, yes, I do my progressive overload and I go to muscle failure, but I'm focusing on how the muscle feels and moves compared to how much weight I can move. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the big change that, comes over time with as you do your lifting, because it applies for everything, like absolutely everything. Like my squats, I used to try to throw as much weight as I could, still making sure that I have my deep form, because I always go really deep in the hole with my squats. And I just tried to put as much weight as possible. But now with my squats, I'm, since it's one of my only quad focused exercises, I'm really focusing on how my quads are activated, especially in that push off down in the bottom of the rep. And I'm focusing way more on how my muscles are particularly moving to launch that weight upwards compared to I'm going to move this weight up. So it's like the
Mhm.
mindset switch of instead of going, I'm going to move this weight, it's now I'm going to get my muscles to properly move this weight. And that's
Yeah.
something that, people need to develop more and more on because if you maintain the mindset the whole time of just trying to move as much weight as you can, I mean, granted, that's powerlifting, but it's not what everybody should be doing, especially in the lifestyle side of things. In the lifestyle side of things, you should want to do muscle more, like your muscle contraction more than anything, and that's where humbling comes into place. That's where that 2.5 pound plate is your best
The
friend, even though
CPAP plate.
it sucks.
Yeah.
It absolutely sucks. Like I will say, it absolutely sucks when you squat. And I actually did this in my last leg day. My top set the week prior was 2 plates, and I know I can, if I was doing like single rep stuff, I can do a lot more weight than that. But I'm going to, a 10 to 12 rep, two failure type movement, and so the week prior was 2 plates. This week was 2 plates and at 2.5 on each side,
Yeah.
and compared to those big like 45 plates, like that 2.5 looks so small. Like it's almost the size of the clamp if you put a clamp on there, and
Yeah.
that's so like mentally tough if you haven't separated your ego yet. And I mean, I was lifting with a buddy of or not lifting with, but he was nearby, and he's an actual power lifter, and so he's doing 4.5 plates for the same amount of reps that I'm doing, and it's just really daunting to throw that 2.5 on there, see how much weight he's moving to the side, and then just have to focus on what you're doing. And
Mhm.
again, it's focusing on your muscles doing the work, not I'm going to get this weight up regardless of what it takes. Like if I'm not truly activating the muscle I want to, I'm going to pause my entire set, just step away from the entire, like if I'm squatting, for example, and I'm not feeling it in my quads, I'm just going to put the re-rack the weight, step away for a minute or two, come back, and then try it again. Like I'm not happy until I've hit the muscles the way I want to hit it. And that's a big change as well because before it was like if I can move this weight and I can get to my rep count, I'm happy with my workout. Now I'm pissed at myself if I don't activate the muscles that I want to. So that's also been a big change for me.
Yeah. The something I didn't even realize until recently is that like you have to really consider like you really have to put your because Arnold's talked about it. You have to really put your mind in the muscle, and you don't want to just go through the motions of the movement. You actually really want to like focus on the actual movement itself and the contraction and stretch and everything. And going to a new gym now, it's interesting because like even though I'm hitting the same movements, the machinery is different, so the weight is going to be different, and I have to really consider how taxing it is for X set or whatever, right? So adjusting the weight to the new machinery is very interesting. Even the cable machinery, even the dumbbells grips are very thick at the new gym, so I have to kind of like adjust how much dumbbell, like the dumbbell weight itself for like my curls, for instance, because it's harder on my forearms to grip that than any other gym where the grip is not as thick. So it's definitely interesting to go from like knowing exactly what weight I have to hit to like kind of feeling it out and having to go from there. And that's what's it's so tough because it's like I want to see like because like we have these apps and all of that to like like track our progress and everything and see like the actual graph of progressive overload with movements. But like that's what's so hard about like not hitting the exact same movement every single time is that like you can't like I can't fully rely on that graph because like plate loaded machine at Gold's, which is Arsenal, is not the same as plate loaded hammer strength machine at Megaflex. Even though it's machine for chest press, the weight is displaced differently. So I can't say that like 90 pounds on the Arsenal is the exact same as 90 pounds on the hammer strength. So it's hard for me to measure that. So I have to like that's why keeping a logbook is so important and keeping like specific wording for your movement so that you know exactly what movement it was. Because if I didn't do that, then like the progress is much slower. And I used to not keep really a logbook for the most part. I used to try to remember, and like looking back, it's like you don't like I don't fully remember the movement every single week. I'm like, okay, I think I was somewhere around here. So like I wasn't really making true progressive overload progress because I wasn't writing it down. So now whenever I go to the gym, I could be like, all right, this is what I hit last week with this new machinery. You know, this is the hack squat that I did on Thursday. So I knew that this is how it felt here. So let me go ahead and do a 2.5 pound plate. I ate an hour and a half before, so I'm good. Damn, every time I talk, I'm fucking yawning. Fuck, I hate it. Um, so I did this much. So I ate plenty of time ago today. Let me go ahead and put a 2.5 pound plate on there this week and do some progressive overload. And then let me actually finish out my workout. So that's what I'm going to be able to do with this leg day coming up is really focus on hitting that progressive overload. But something else that that I wanted to mention too is anybody who wants to really grow legs, listen to Tom Platz, which we were mentioning beforehand before the episode before we started recording. Tom Platz is the shit, and Tom Platz, if you don't know, he was a
The
bodybuilder back
quad
in the 80s.
father.
Yeah, he was called the Quad Father. His legs were so disproportionate from the rest of his body; it was fucking insane. So he's a phenomenal person to listen to when it comes to legs. His mindset was very toxic. I do it sometimes, but so this is where the term 5 more reps comes from. So he says that if you think you're about to fail, you're
Do
really
five
not
more.
about to
Yeah.
fail. You're at like 50-60% of failure. He's like, do 5 more reps, and you keep doing 5 more reps until you can't anymore. So that's his whole thing. And the thing that really, I mean, his legs overall stood out for him, but the thing that really stood out for him was his quads. And that was because of barbell squats. He talked about how, squats are great for everything, but you really want to focus squats and quads, really have a quad dominant squat. And for those that don't know, he did unassisted. I think he might have had a belt on, but he didn't have any knee sleeves or anything on. He did a 5 plate squat. So 5 plates on each side. He did a 5 plate squat. I apologize for the dogs if you can hear them. 5 plate squat on each side of a barbell. He did that for 21 reps, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he like that was fucking absurd. People have tried hitting that. I think it was 5 plates. People have tried hitting that and trying to beat that, and nobody's been able to beat it. But he just like randomly beat it one day. Like that's how fucking good this guy was at legs. Like he was a god when it comes to legs. No one's legs will ever come to as good as his. Ronnie's people argue, but it's like I don't think he could have been able to squat 5 plates 21 times. It's not how he trained. There's no way he could have beaten him with that. But yeah, so Tom Platz is a really good person to listen to. And he talks about how you need to go past the pain barrier. So with your legs, we've talked about this before. Your legs go into fight or flight. And you need to push past that pain barrier. When you hit, there's going to be a certain point where it burns so bad you're going to want to stop. But if you keep going, the pain goes away and you're able to keep lifting because your body goes into flight mode. Like you're literally like it's kind of like a runner's high where running gets so hard, eventually you get over this like hill in your body where it starts to feel good and you get this dopamine hit that keeps you going. So that's what this pain barrier is. You got to push past this pain barrier and keep lifting. If your muscles can keep moving, then you can keep lifting. So that's something that he always preached, and I think Arnold preached it too with like with his training overall. But Tom Platz's leg days are fucking next level. If you're listening to that during your workout, it is next level. So be sure to check that out. That's for sure.
I
Good shit.
think if you need also just his motivational talking, like I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of videos of him just going to town talking about legs, and that stuff too is super motivational. I mean, I use a lot of Arnold material, but just in passing, like on socials, Tom Platz stuff will pop up because once he stopped competing, he took on the coaching role and went pretty big with that. But
Mhm.
it's I just find it funny when he's talking about the squats, then he'll push his ponytail out of the way and then just keep going,
Yeah.
and it's just really funny. And his his talking about that failure is so like again, it's not talking like you mentioned how it's almost toxic, and it almost
Yeah.
can be, because you like the way you have to approach this conversation is that, yeah, when you get to this failure and then continuing to push yourself, and it's like unassisted, because like he did, it was unassisted. But when you're training by yourself, if you have a spot for like squats, for example, not having that and just being able to push through it without anybody around you is real tough too, because you think that like you're gonna fall over or something. And that can be an embarrassing moment in the gym, the first time you have to let a barbell fall off your back or something like that. Like
Yeah.
that's something that you also need to, kind of work through and not be worried about, because to reach this true level of intensity that he was training to, you have to be able to push yourself to a level that's unseen in, most workout regiments, because it's so like painful to get to that point. Um, but it can be motivating. Like I remember the video that I'd always watch when it comes to Tom Platz stuff is he's coaching this one bodybuilder, and he's only got like what's the blue Rogue? That's a 35 kilo. I think that's a blue Rogue plate. Um,
Oh, if it's Rogue Blue, I want to say is 25 kilos, which
25 kilos. Okay, so
might,
it'll come out to a yeah.
I think
So
it's
that's
25, which is like just over 50. It's like 55 pounds or something like
yeah.
that, I think.
And so there's only one of those on each side, and the guy, you can tell, I don't know who it was, but
Oh, it's
he's the guy
20.
in
I
the
looked it up. It's 20. It's 20
20.
kilos, 45 pounds.
Okay.
So he's got a plate on each
Well,
side.
it's like 44 and a half, but it's basically there.
Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty much
yeah,
45, 20, whatever you want to call it. It's
yeah.
basically one plate in a sense.
And one plate on either side, like if you think of it in the 45 cents, it's not like that's not an excessively large like squat by any means. That's only a buck 35 if you include the bar.
Yeah.
And so to see that guy fail using that kind of weight, that was motivating, because it's that if you're doing that kind of weight, you can probably do it for a lot of reps. And so to reach true failure on a buck 35, you're in the stratosphere in terms of rep count.
Yeah.
And that was really motivating to see, because as my workouts get higher and higher volume to increase the intensity, not being afraid to fail on a weight that most people would view as like a warm-up weight is like that is what I took a lot out of the video that I'm thinking of for Tom Platz, because he's pushing this dude. He the guy in the video is like, I can't do more, and then you hear the do 5 more, and the guy ends up falling over at one point. Falling over with 135 on your back can be a really humbling experience. I haven't done it myself, but I'm like, that right there, that motivated me. So it's really an interesting approach, because most videos you watch are like, trying to motivate you by trying to get you to think about who you're or what you're working towards, like what is your goal, like all this stuff. And then he's like, shut the fuck up and lift.
Yeah, his thing was there's a gun pointing at his mom's head.
Yeah, you've
That's
told
how
me
he
about
got
that one.
that's how he got through his sets, which occasionally I've tried. It's too toxic. It's not healthy. Um yeah, my squats, my squat sets are kind of based like loosely based off his. I go one plate, two plates, three plates, and then after my set of three plates, I drop set immediately to two plates, then immediately to one plate. And usually with that, especially if I'm on the stronger side, I usually get like 6, 7, maybe 8 out of three plates. Then I get like 12 to 14 for two plates, and then I get like close to 20 with the one plate. So like I end up doing like almost like over 50 reps typically. No, not 50, sorry. Closer to like 40 reps. That's starting like that rep range starts when I unrack the three plates off the rack and put it on my back. So that's fucking it sucks. It sucks so bad, especially when it's quad focus. Shit sucks. It's very hard, but that's the thing. You got to keep going to mechanical failure for your working sets. I mean, plenty of warm up sets. You got to be careful with your joints, but you got to keep going to failure. And there's so many different ways to hit legs. I've seen from like different bodybuilders, like Greene hitting 3 sets of 20 for everything on legs. Like he does Jefferson squats with a bar and does 3 sets of 20 with that. I'm like, what? Like this dude's this massive and he's just holding a bar and he does really slow Jefferson squats. I'm like, and that's what kind of why I started doing Jefferson squats. But yeah, it's gnarly. There's so many different ways of hitting legs. I hate it though. I hate legs. I've always believed that if you like legs, you're not hitting them right. You should hate them. And that's what Tom
See,
Platz kept saying.
I
Kill me.
when it comes to legs, I hate doing them, but I love the feeling that comes afterwards. Like
Yeah, a
I
good leg
hate,
pump is awesome.
well, not even the leg pump. Like I hate the movements. Like I was talking earlier about being in the hack squat and just not wanting to be there. Like during my actual leg day, I hate it, especially hamstring. I hate training hamstrings more than anything else in the gym. And so I hate being in the gym when it comes to my leg day, but the feeling that comes, especially for me, I tend to line up my cold plunges with, because for those who don't know, I've talked about, cryotherapy before in the past, but I do at least one or two cold plunges a week. And the way that I like to do it is on my leg days. So, like for example, my leg day this past week lined up on Friday. So I did my leg day and I went home and I had my post gym meal first because you want to get that protein in your system to properly distribute into, where it needs to go. And then take a nice steam shower so that your blood gets moving and like thoroughly distributes all of the food that you just intaked. And then take, 3 to 4 minute cold plunge and just lock everything down. And then I go right to bed. I never sleep better than days like that
Mm.
because I send my body into recovery mode immediately. Um, I mean, obviously, it's probably like an hour to an hour and a half after the lift because of driving time and eating time and everything.
Mhm.
But I love that feeling that comes following a leg day. And then the next day, I mean, I'm sore, but I'm not as sore as I would be if I didn't do that recovery process. But I love the feeling of walking kind of stupidly the next day. Um,
You
as silly as that sounds, like
got your cheeks clapped.
yeah. Well, for me, it's like because I wear slacks for work because I'm in the school and whatever, and
Yeah.
like, and when it's hard to get my quads into the slacks, that's 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 an enjoyable feeling.
Yeah.
So, I like I said, I hate actually doing leg day, but I love the feelings that come following leg day.
Right, right. I like a leg pump. I just hate doing the movements. It's just not fun at all. I
Yeah.
can't stand it. It's just it hurts. It's not enjoyable. I don't know. It's just it's hard. Um, that's why I mean I don't know. That's just my stance on it. I think that like there are other movements that I don't like to do or that I don't like doing. Like I'm not the biggest fan of I'm not the biggest fan of arm days. I just don't like the movements too much. So that's hard for me. Is doing arm day. It's just not fun. But I like the pump. You know, I mean, there's no pump I don't not like. You know, I like all kinds of pumps.
The
Um,
bump is like coming.
yeah, yeah, I like the pump more. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, who doesn't like a pump? But with legs and arms, I just don't really like the movements too much. And some people like legs, I guess. I just don't think that you should enjoy them. I think that you should hate them. And I've always believed that you need to put. I posted about this on my Instagram story recently, and I think that you should need to put your legs or your body into a place of uncomfortability, especially with legs, and your body is naturally going to want to not put itself in pain. That's just how it works. You know, it wants to not be in pain. So when you go into a leg day, you need to be doing what you don't want to do because your body knows that it hurts. Your body knows that it causes pain. So if it's something that you see, you're like, fuck, I don't want to do that, then go do it. Like that's how it works. Because if you do stuff that your body agrees with and your body likes, then you're not going to be making the progress that you want to be making. It should not be comfortable. You should be putting yourself in that pain. And because it's in a way like lifting, it goes against a lot of it, especially legs, goes against our natural instincts to put ourselves in so much pain that it hurts and we can't walk properly the next day because like naturally we need to be able to walk to survive. You know, we need to be able to walk to survive and run away from fucking predators and shit, right? So for legs. Like, no, really though. Like that's how it
Nowadays,
works.
nowadays we just have to run away from Karens.
Yeah, he's got to run away from chicks recording TikToks in gyms.
Oh my god.
Um, yeah, God forbid you look in their general direction for half a second.
No, you
Uh,
just walk in the gym. Just
yeah,
walk in the gym and you're on a
just
video.
your presence is illegal now.
Masculinity. Ah.
Yeah. Another dude. So yeah, it's just like it goes against our instincts. So you got to fight that. And by fighting that, you got to do exactly what you don't want to do. So if you do that, you're going to make more progress. And that's why I hate legs, because I do what I don't want to do. I don't do what I want to do. Because if I did what I want to do, I would just do like glute kickbacks and then like extensions and leg curls and then like calf raises, and I'll call it a day. Like that's like all I ever really want to do for legs, but I know that that's not what's going to give me the progress that I need. Like especially if I do anything lunges, if you see me doing anything lunges wise, I'm hating my life because I hate
Don't talk to
lunges.
me.
Yeah, like dude,
Yeah.
like yeah, I hate lunges so much, so much, but they're necessary. Lunges, especially if you can get a glute focus for them. Walking lunges, they suck balls. Like the last time I did lunges was a couple weeks ago, 2 Thursdays ago, and I did a plate and a 10 on each side for 8 per side for walking lunges. So 8 with my left foot forward, 8 with my right foot forward, and I wanted to die. I hate them so much. And if you do like, oh, the worst is Smith machine lunges. That shit sucks so bad. If you've ever done Smith machine lunges, you're gonna hate your life. It sucks so bad. And if you do glute focus, it sucks even worse. So um,
I
it's very
was
very hard.
I was actually just talking with last night with not last night, Friday night, Rob, the buddy
Yeah,
that, and we were just talking about body weight lunges. Don't even have to load weight on it. Just body
yeah,
weight lunges down and back on a tarp or something like, or not turf or something like that.
yeah.
Like that by itself is just absurd. Like obviously you go for higher reps if you're just doing your body weight, but by the time you get to 10, 15, 20, like on each side, you're dying. And then
Yeah.
if you decide to throw some dumbbells on there or maybe like a barbell on your back, like it's intense. It really is.
Mhm.
Walking lunges are no joke.
Especially if you superset that, like if you superset body weight, like because that's also another good thing with like sissy squats is if you have like a sissy squat like little machine thing, it's not really a machine, it's just kind of like a platform you stand on. If you do sissy squats, like superset it with something else, it sucks because your body's already taxed from what you were doing. So to then like do like something lightweight that just uses the last bit of energy that you had or last bit of strength that you had from that last set, like that shit sucks so bad. And that's kind of like what lunges would be for. Like I would do, like if you're gonna do lunges like that, what I would do is um probably like squats, like barbell squats, because I think there's like a squat rack by your turf. So if it was me, I would do like barbell squats with quad focus, rack it, and then immediately go into like lunges right after that, and you'd be hating yourself. And it doesn't matter how many you get because you're just squeezing out every bit of strength and energy you have left. So if you only get 10 total lunges, that's fine because you squeezed out everything you had. So it's that shit is hard. And I forget what they're called. There's another one you can do too where I'd have to look, I'd have to take a look back at what it was, but you'd have to like basically what you do is you like lean forward, like you don't lean forward, you let your knees move forward and you lean back and let your knees basically touch the ground, and then you come back up. I forget what they're called. So you want to keep your body parallel with your quads, and then you like lean like your knees forward, touch the ground, and then come back up with them. It's
Mm.
kind of like a leg extension in a way. It's like a standing leg extension almost. Um, and like if you superset that with anything else, it sucks so bad. Let me see if I can find the proper word for it. Um,
I thought you
it's
were at first trying to describe that back exercise or back ab exercise where you have your legs, like you're on your knees with your legs behind you and you just try and drop your whole frame and then bring your frame back up. I thought you were describing that at first, but
no. I have to take a look. I'm not sure. I remember I had it at one point when COVID hit, um and like yeah, I don't know where it's at. I'd have to find it. But where COVID hit and I was doing like a lot of stuff at home, I had to do that because like this is like when I lived in Colorado and what I was doing to lift was I had those like giant like 2.5 gallon pull and spring bottle like spout water things. Like it's like a water jug with the spout. And I had a broomstick and I'd connect the broomstick to those two things. And that's how I
Huh.
do like super high rep, like curls and barbell rows and shit with that because it's so lightweight. It was like maybe 30 pounds at the most. So like I have to do really high rep, but doing like, I think it was like 100 lunges followed by like those leg extension movements, like till failure. And that was pretty hard. Like when you do like body weight, sorry, not lunges, squats, when you do body weight squats, like 100 of them, that shit adds up real fast. Like that gets hard real fast. And you do like 3 or 4 sets of that, like you're toast after that. I was fucking
Yep.
toast. And I would do that every day because it didn't take me long to hit like one movement. Like I couldn't really do anything chest. I just do push-ups and then like do the curls. Triceps was like a tricep push-up kind of thing. And then like there really wasn't too much to it. So it wouldn't really take me that long to get through it. But it was still hard. But yeah, that's what I would do for legs, and it was hard. It was very, very hard. Let me see if I can
Yeah.
find the
It's always, anything body weight, calisthenic work is one thing, like when you only focus on body weight, but to throw in body weight exercises just in the middle of, your regular weighted sets,
yeah.
it can be really insane. Like even doing, on a chest day, like going from a flat bench to a push-up superset, like even that can be intense. So
Mhm,
I mean, utilizing your body weight is certainly a really good thing to be doing when you're trying to get a deeper muscle interaction. Like so when we're talking about the squats into the lunges, like your quads will be burning after that.
mhm.
So that's a really good way to not just get a true burnout, but also fully and truly activate your muscles.
Yeah, yeah. It's that's a tough one. That's for sure a tough one. Um, Let me see. Yeah, I can't find it. So if you look up Julian Smith quads, because I know he's a guy that does it a lot. If you Google that and you go to images, image 2 and 3 is the movement that I'm talking about. What? 40 minutes. I gotta cut that out. So
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about now.
yeah. So let me see. So yeah, so like that is what I'm talking about. So it's like this weird like forward movement that's kind of like a leg extension. So like that's really hard if you superset it with something else. What's the word? Like there are tons of photos, but nothing is ever listing what he did, what that's called.
Huh.
Where is it? But is it? It's not bodyweight sissy squat, is it?
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you what this exercise movement is called.
Yeah, like it's a fucking sissy squat. I'm an idiot.
hmm,
It's an unsupported sissy squat. What? I'm a fucking idiot. Yeah, so it's you that I even talked about sissy squats earlier. Fucking damn it. So supported sissy squat is the machine thing that I was kind of talking about, or it's like a platform thing. But if you do body weight unsupported sissy squats, they fucking suck because you lean forward and all your weight is on your quads and you're kind of like pressing from your toes to drive up your weight back up. But it fucking sucks. I'm so glad COVID is over though, because I could not keep doing that for much longer. That sucked.
yeah,
But yeah, that's a good one to superset with. But for hams and glutes, I mean, it's tough to kind of superset with something else as far as like body weight goes because there's not really much. Well, actually, I take that back. So there is Roman chair, like ham curls you can do, which sucks so bad, especially if the Roman chair is like flat. It's like a pretty level Roman chair. It sucks so bad. I think, from what I can remember, I think Empire has a flat Roman chair, and if you get in that and just focus on your hams, like that shit sucks. It's kind of like a good morning, but your head ends up close to the ground because
Mm,
your legs are parallel with the ground. So like that sucks. So if you like superset that with like a hip press, I don't know if you guys have a hip press machine, but if you have like a hip press machine and do like single leg hip press for glutes, and then go superset that with the Roman chair hamstring curls, that would ruin your fucking day. So that's a tough one too. I mean, there's plenty of supersets you can do with body weight that kind of tax it out, but lunges is a good one. That's a good example of that. Yeah, that shit sucks.
yeah.
But
I mean, on the topic of the hip movements, guys need to be okay with hitting glutes. I like obviously in the bodybuilding world, like we care so much about how everything looks, so we don't mind hitting it. But the average dude that goes into the gym needs to be okay with doing like hip thrusts or something like that
yeah,
because it's such a good movement. And yes, it's normally dominated by the gals of the world. Like I'm not shying away from that by any means, but 100% people, men need to be okay with working their glutes because so often a guy will have a really good quad and hamstring spread in terms of size, width, and depth, and then just fucking nothing in his ass.
hmm
And when you do have well developed legs, it will stick out if you don't have it. It's like calves. Calves, it's very obvious to point out when someone doesn't have calves. And obviously calves are a different conversation than glute because there's a lot more genetics involved with calves than compared to glutes, but it's one of those things that just stand out, especially if you have well developed legs. So people are, I keep saying people, dudes who train legs not just religiously but with a well intended purpose, like trying to really build out their legs and then don't touch anything for glutes. It's very obvious, and you want to avoid that. Obviously, like I said, in the bodybuilding world, we care about having proportionate everything. So everything is like scientifically like backed by us, and we're like measuring every like not measuring, but like by sight, making sure like okay, we need to hit something more today. Um, but I just see so many like when I do my hip thrusts, I the guy I used to work out with, he would almost make fun of me, and I was like, "Homie, I make fun of me all you want. I'm getting a much better feeling doing this, and I'm actually training a very underutilized, not underutilized, very undervalued muscle. And you can make fun of me all you want, and that's kind of where the ego has to be displaced again. But I will say, when you're hip thrusting as a dude, I mean, if if someone that if your gym crush walks by, you'll find the ability to hip thrust for more reps and more weight than so.
Excuse me,
It's
ma'am. What's your weight? Let me put that on the hip thrust machine and show you I
greatest
can just
pickup line you can
wreck
do in the
that.
gym. Greatest pickup line you can do. Walk up to your gym crush and say, "Hello, how much do you weigh?" And they'll be thrown aback
Yeah.
because you never
Let me.
ask a gal how much she weighs, and then she'll be like, "Oh well, buck 10, say less, follow me."
You
So
put
what
a
are you doing
plate on
after
each side
this?
and a 10. You get a plate and each a 10 on each side. This is 110 pounds of this hip thrust. Let me do it 70,000 times. Boom, 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 boom,
so,
boom, boom.
so what are you doing after this?
So you free tonight? After that, because clearly, I mean, I won you over. I mean, it's obvious. Yeah, no, hip thrust is a good one. Hip thrust for glutes is a good one. And believe it or not, people are probably going to disagree with me on this. Guys can grow way bigger glutes than girls can.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just it just comes out of muscle size. I mean, guys. I mean, it's just biology. Guys can grow much bigger muscle bellies than girls can.
yep.
But the difference is the reason we think that women big build their butts is because they have a much more emphasis on glutes and then keep their hams and quads on the smaller side to emphasize their glutes. So it looks more obvious that their glutes are big. But if you put a bodybuilder next to I guess like a female bodybuilder or something like that, or like any girl who focuses on their glutes in the gym, proportionately speaking, guys have a way bigger dump truck than girls do.
And I think another reason why people think that it's such a gal dominated thing is that um, gals store a lot of fat back there too, and so
Yeah, that's true.
gals with a dumpy. it might not be all muscle and whatnot, and men
Mhm.
generally don't store fat back there. So when men have, well defined glutes, or large glutes, it's from muscle growth and working it. It's not as
Yeah.
much, the Kim Kardashian method, where it's the size is there because of food storage and some plastic work. Whereas with men, our if we have size back there, it's almost 90% because of the gym work. So I think
Yeah.
that's also a big defining factor.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't really store much fat at all in my legs. So whatever size I have in my legs is mostly muscle for the most part. I mean, I got vascularity pretty much consistently. That was another thing that like my coach really pointed out yesterday when I was posing, and that's why you need to be okay with constructive criticism. And he was just like, he's like, man, he's like, you only store fat in your belly. Like that's the only place you store it is in your lower belly. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking telling you, dude. Like
Mm,
we both know this because then when I do my back pose, he's like, yeah, see, fat's gone, much better.
yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I know. I fucking know. That's why it's so hard for me to have abs. But him and I agree that's going to go away with age. He's like, he was like, I was just like you when I was he's 30, I think 31, 30, 31. And he's like, I was just like that when I was your age. He's like, all my fat was in my belly. But then as you mature, your fat distributes more evenly. And that's another thing you got to take into account too, especially like for those of us that are on the younger side. I mean, 24 is on the younger side. We're not super young, we're not teenagers, but like we still aren't fully matured within our bodies yet. So our fat distribution isn't really there anymore, or really isn't there yet. I mean, not anymore yet. Because a lot of the guys that I'm lifting with, upper 20s, early 30s, and I'm comparing myself to these guys, but their bodies have literally fully matured and their fat distribution has really evened out. So it looks like they're leaner when they're bulking. But for me, it's like I'm bulking and putting on just as much size, but my fat makes me feel like I look fatter than I do because it's all in my belly. But then like I take off my pants when I'm doing legs and it's like I got quad separations and veins going down my legs, but then like people who have more even distribution don't have quite as vascular legs, So it's like it's just it sucks having the fat distribution that I do have. Like you were saying with women, it's like it's in their glutes more and in like a lot of time they're also their belly too, not quite much elsewhere. It's just how it works for them, and especially when they're fully matured, it's like usually entirely like their lower belly and like the top of their legs, not quite the bottom of their legs, but top of their legs, like hips and glutes, and then lower belly is where they store all of their fat. It's just how it works. It's just how their distribution works. But that's also part of like getting cut for a show is like the striations and definition within their glutes. That's why glutes, especially women's bikini, their biggest like judging factor is their glutes because that's very, very hard for them to get lean. And it is, I mean, even for guys, it's pretty hard. Like, a guy's lean when they have glute striations. Like, that's lean as fuck. Like, C-Bum, if you look at his side chest
I was
from
about to
the
quote
recent
him.
Olympia, fucking insane striations in his glutes. And like that's how you know this dude is lean as fuck is because his you can see where his glutes end and his hamstrings begin, and he's not even fucking flexing them. It's fucking nuts. So that's how it works for guys. But with girls, it's like I guess it's less about the striations and more about just the end of the glute and start of the hams, and that's why they do their like posing that way. But they don't even judge their back. Like I was watching when I was at that seminar, they're doing women's bikini, and they were literally saying that they don't judge your back. It's your front pose, mainly with your legs and your hips and how it's proportionate. Then when they turn around, they like push their butt out, and it's like their hair drapes, and they're like, ladies, like it's okay if your hair drapes because they don't judge your back. It's okay. Like they don't care about your back. They care about your glutes and your legs. So like that's fucking wild to me. But then they say probably the same thing about men's physique where they say we don't even judge legs. So I'm sure women are like, that's our fucking whole thing. Like that's the thing with what that's our thing is legs. That you can just not have legs. What? But it also goes to the effect like you were saying, like it's clearly obvious when you don't have legs as a guy. It's obvious, and you look like fucking SpongeBob because you got a fucking upper body and then no legs. Like that's literally how you're built. And obviously you don't have to have a super strong emphasis on legs if you're not going to compete. Like that's okay, but at least like stay relatively proportionate. But when it comes to bodybuilding, what I like to see now, and I'm liking to see, and why I have more respect for men's physique over time, is that guys are needing bigger and bigger legs for the judges to give them better points. So they're not really judging your legs based off of how they look. They judge it based almost proportionately. It's almost like subconsciously they want to see your legs proportionate with your upper body, even though they're not judging legs. So like the days of like stick legs and a big upper body for men's physique is no more. That's not how it is anymore. You have to have legs now. And the board shorts for men's physique are getting smaller and smaller every year, I feel. They used to be like baggy board shorts. You're supposed to look like you're at the beach, like you're wearing regular board shorts that go past your knees and shit. And you're supposed to be relatively soft. But now it's like you're wearing board shorts that are like 7-inch inseams and
It's
tight to
almost like
their fucking legs.
I was gonna say it's almost like compression.
Yeah, like tight to their fucking legs, and they got to be chiseled to the fucking gills going to these shows. And I like to see that because legs truly like shows how disciplined somebody is. My train, not really much anymore, but Chewy, who I used to train with, he's my reference on my resume because he knows what it's like to be disciplined, and like it's a skill to have. Like being a bodybuilder is almost like a skill that you can actually like a little bit brag about because it takes so much discipline and effort and motivation and all of that to really do what you're doing. And most people will find it impressive that you go to the gym as much as we do. So like that, it goes for legs. Like if you have big legs, even disproportionate legs at that, you're going to be looked up to in a sense because that's how much hard work goes into legs. Legs is very, very hard work. I love hitting upper body, but I fucking hate legs. Like every time I hit legs, I'm like, fuck, I got to hit legs today. And then I'm done. I'm like, yes, I got like a full week of upper body and no legs. Like,
Hmm.
I'm like, nice. And then I see someone finishing up legs. I'm like, fuck, I'm jealous because I want to be able to start my upper body week. Like I like looking forward to being done legs because I know that I got 5 sessions of upper body until my legs again. So it sucks, and that's why it's like rewarded to have bigger legs.
See, I don't train the same amount of days that I do anymore. I only do a
Mhm.
4-day split now. So I only have 3 days that separate, or 3 lifting days that separate my leg days.
Fucking
So
sucks.
it
What is
yeah,
your
and
split again?
2 on, 1 off
Yeah,
is
but like
right
what's
now the
the
plan.
muscle groups?
So my leg day is everything but calves.
Yeah.
And so
Oh yeah,
that's
you have accessory day, right?
kind of. So it goes legs, then it goes into back and buys, chest tries, and then delts, abs, and calves.
Okay, gotcha. So your delts is kind of like your accessory day.
Yeah.
um I'm it's interesting to me that I get why he's doing it now, but I think eventually you should have your own delt day, like a dedicated delt day. Especially being as tall as you are, uh, you're going to need real emphasis on your delts and real emphasis on your traps, your upper traps, and your upper pecs as well. You're going to need real emphasis on that, especially getting closer to competing. So that'll be interesting to see what he has you do down the road. But yeah, legs is I mean, I used to do 2 leg days a week back in the day when I started with my first coach. It was a quad day and a ham and glute day. Um,
Mm.
it was quads, I think Sundays, and I think I did hams and glutes on Thursdays, I think it was. But it's not really needed anymore now because of competing in men's physique. But if I were to go for classic, I think I'd need to improve overall on my legs. Like looking at my legs, like I'm getting more and more even now, but I think I need to build upon them proportionately to compete in classic. Like I need a lot more size to compete in classic. I need probably like a couple of years of real growth before I can like even consider classic. But yeah, legs is tough. Like we'll get into quads on another day, but like quads is something I need to improve upon, and hams too. Like because when you're doing a side chest, people don't realize that you're not flexing your hams; you're letting them rest. So for me, when I let
Well,
them
you're
rest,
you're 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 basically pushing them out.
yeah, essentially, yeah, you're not really flexing your ham. So letting them rest, the belly that's supposed to drop right there isn't as prominent as I want it to be. My glutes kind of like almost overshadow it because my glutes are so big. My hams look like they're like non-existent. It looks like my glutes connect to my like calves. It's just a straight line, kind of. There's a slight bump, but like when I'm flexing my calves, it's like okay, they're actually fucking there. Not calves, sorry, hams. They're actually fucking there. But my glutes is so overpowering that my hams just look fucking washed out, which sucks. But I need to work on my hams a lot, and then also need to really work on my teardrop because my teardrop is there on my quads. It's just I need to be more prominent. But that's something I can address down the road if I ever need to. But men's physique, not judging legs, is good and bad. But I like how they're at least starting to prefer proportions in general. So it's good. It's good to see that. But it makes it
I have
harder.
to and you mentioned it right when I was, picking up my coach and starting the process of what I'm doing. But
Yep.
I no longer hit calves 4 times a week. Because that was my way to beat my genetics, like to overwork calves so much, and they're at an unreal level. But now I only train them once a week.
Yeah.
Um, on that delts, abs, and calves day. So when it comes to my legs, like that's almost on the back burner now, just because of how developed they are compared to the rest of my legs.
I do my calves during Stairmaster. That's really all I do for calves. Because
Yeah,
I do
and
Stairmaster 3 times a week. So I just kind of I flex my calves and like use my calves to work the
I was
steps.
gonna say do like a toe raise emphasis on your
Essentially.
stairmaster. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. So like when I do Stairmaster, even though it's not hypertrophy really, it's cardio obviously, but like I'll do like toe emphasis, and then when my calves get tired, I'll swap to like a ham emphasis where I'm
Yep.
kind of driving more so from my heels and kind of pulling like I'm kind of like dragging my foot as I step so that I can like use my hams to like move like to actually do the steps. So that's what I do. But that's also comes out of mind muscle connection because it used to be all quads way back in the day. Anybody who doesn't have like the my muscle connection there will tell you that Stairmaster is all quads, but it's not. You can really hit anything you want. Like you can really emphasize a different muscle group, whatever you want, when you're doing quad or doing Stairmaster. But my problem is, I don't know if you have this problem, but when I walk or do like an incline or something like that, my soleus fucking kills, which is the front of your calves, fucking
It's
kills.
it's
But
basically
it's
for other people, it's your shin essentially.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
to make it clear for any listener who doesn't know, it's literally your shin.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, my shin fucking kills. But like when I flex it, I can literally see the muscle coming through my skin, which is gnarly. Like I've never really trained soleus, but when I'm walking or like walking the dogs fast or something like that, because my wife and I used to, when I would work at like 9 a.m., she'd be leaving at like 10 a.m. for work. So we'd go for a walk in the morning with the dogs for like 20 minutes. And my soleus would be fucking burning on both of my
Mm.
legs by the time I get home, like so bad. Like I have to like stop a few times to like let them calm down. They burn that bad. But so it's like it's just a weird situation for me because that's kind of also partially why my calves and my shins and all that are very vascular because I just have a good muscle connection with it. So I never really train calves, but I can have them burn essentially whenever I want. Um, so it's an interesting thing because, like you said, it's genetics. Calves are genetics. A lot of the time, it's really genetics. Same with your traps. A lot of it's kind of genetics and the way your androgen receptors are distributed throughout your body. So for calves, I don't really train calves much. I just have the genetics for them, and I don't want them to be disproportionate. I don't have a crazy size calves, but there's definitely definition there. So I
Yeah,
don't want them to be disproportionate.
mine's the size, and now we're just working on getting the tonnage down because I have just fucking beef sticks on my calves right now, and now we're
Yeah.
working on getting them toned and actually getting trying to get that quad the not quad calf separation. That for those who don't know,
Mhm.
your calf is more than just one. Like it's
It's a
think of it
couple
like a
heads.
you think of it like a tricep. I view it as 3 heads, and
Yeah.
the really crazy videos are when you see people flex and you can see the it's I mean, you can consider you can compare it to the teardrop of the quad because of how it separates, and it's absurd to see that. So now that's more or less where my calf work is, directed, because, like I said, the size is there for me. Now we're just working on getting it to look the way we want it to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like there's a video Rich Piana posted a long time ago. Rest in peace, Rich Piana. I miss him. He talked about how guys complain about how you can't build calves. He's like, oh, you can't build calves. Oh, and he's like, shut up with that bullshit. He's like, because you're blaming genetics on it. He's like, I guarantee you, you hit calves for 40 minutes a fucking day, 6 days a week. You're not going to gain muscle. He's like, are you shitting me? He's like, whatever your weakness is, you can fight it by training it. He's like, before you do your workouts every day at the gym, do some calf movements. Do like 3 calf movements. And he's like, they will fucking blow up. And somebody did that, I think. There was like this guy did like a 90-day video progression where he trained 40 minutes of calves a day before his actual workout, and his calves blew the fuck up. And that's just how it works. If you need something to be bigger and better, you need to properly train it hard as fuck. Granted, you don't need to hit it 6 days a week. Hit it maybe every other day for like 15-20 minutes, and you'll probably get very similar results. But you like overtraining is a thing, but it's not gonna like deteriorate your muscles. So he
Mhm.
was getting like not as good ROI on his time, but it's such bullshit to be like, oh, I can never have genet or calves because of my genetics. And it's like, no, you're just not willing to put in the work for it. And that goes
Yep.
for anything. My arms aren't genetically there, but I'm gonna put in the work to fucking get them. I hit them twice a week. So like you got to put in the work, whatever it is, you need to put in the work. And you can't spot lose fat. So don't worry about that. Just worry about muscle size. So like if something needs size, work on it. Abs, I need to work on some more abs, especially my lower abs. So I'm going to start hitting at lower abs just about every single day, especially now that I'm on a growth plan. Essentially, there's no excuse anymore. We have too much science, too much studies, too many studies to really back that you can grow anything you want to grow if you really want to focus on it. So using genetics as a crutch to be like, oh, this isn't why I can't. This is why I can't grow this. It's like you're just not willing to put in the work, and that's just how it is. And that's calves. So
Age old Arnold quote: "Results are excuses, not both." And that, I
yeah,
mean, and that applies outside of the gym too. I mean, this is what truly frustrates me when people talk about financial situations and how they're in the hole. And it's like, if you truly have the desire to get out of that situation, you can.
yeah,
And that's how it applies with everything in the gym. I mean, if you have a particular group, like Paul and I talk about how we feel our arms are like just our most lackluster areas, and we train those so fucking hard.
yeah,
I mean, like even on the new plan, like I can feel myself pushing harder on arm days than or not arm days because I don't have an arm day, but when I hit an arm muscle, than other muscles, just because I know how much I need to recover in that area compared to the rest of my body. So
yeah,
if you want to change it, you can. You just have to be mentally disciplined enough to put in the extra hours, the extra reps, 5 more. Quote Tom Platz.
yeah. Yeah, you got to put in the work, and that's how it works. And same with food, you got to put in the work, and it has to become part of you. And like I've been saying that during all my interviews lately for jobs, like it's like they're like, oh, what are your hobbies? And I'm like, my entire life evolves around bodybuilding, essentially. Besides like my wife and dogs and family and all that, I'm like it evolves around bodybuilding because it's got to be part of you. Like it's got to be your lifestyle. It's a 24/7 sport. We've talked about it a million times. Like any sport, most of the time you practice and then you kind of go home and you're kind of done. I mean, unless you're like trying to go pro and you're constantly shooting hoops or something to like really get good. But like if you're just a high school or middle school player or whatever, or like just used to play college or something like that, you're playing rec, whatever it is, you go play, practice, whatever it is, and then you call it a day after that. That's it, you're done. But that's not how bodybuilding works. It's a constant game. You're constantly working at it. You're constantly practicing. You're constantly living the life. You don't just go to the gym and come home and call it a day. You have to eat properly. You have to eat constantly. It's part of who you are as a person. And then even then, it's not even like there's no game once a week or something like that. There's no game once every 2 weeks. It's maybe a competition a couple times a year, maybe. So it's more about the journey, and that's like legs is entirely the journey. You're not going to just grow legs all of a sudden. You have to put in the work. You have to do it properly. You have to put in. You have to eat the food properly, and you know, obviously equipment's going to play a role, but you really just need to put in the work, and there's no other way around it. And it sucks to suck if you're not putting the work. You know, I mean, you're not, if you don't want if you're not getting the results, it's because you're not putting in the work. And you know, legs are just like that. And if you really, really need to build your legs, then do 2 leg days a week. Do a quad and calf day, and do a ham and glute day, which is kind of what our focus was today. It was, you know, ham and glute today. We'll do another day where we talk a lot more about quads. Maybe we'll, you know, combine that with something else, because you know, quads is a big muscle group, but you can only train it so many ways. But yeah, quads is a big emphasis, and then a ham and glute day is also a big emphasis too. If you need 2 leg days a week, most people don't, but if you do, ham and glute day and a quad day, but you gotta put in the work. And if you're not willing to put in the work, you're not going to get the results. And I say this whenever I'm training with someone. I'm like, if you don't get 8, your competition did. You know, like
Hmm.
that's what I said yesterday in rack pulls. I was like, come on, let's get 10. I was like, if you don't get it, your competition will. And that's how it is. Like, if you're not willing to put in the work, your competition is. So you got to put in the work. And if you don't
Well,
show up to the gym, your competition did. So,
from the athletic side of things, there's there's I couldn't tell you who quoted this, but you might not be the strongest, you might not be the most gifted, but if you're not the hardest worker in the room, then you're already behind. And that's why
mhm,
people always say that, you know, work ethic beats talent 100% of the time. And that's, I mean, that applies for, you know, our gym side of things too. Like, yeah, I know for a fact I'm not the strongest dude in Empire. I know for a fact I'm not the biggest dude in Empire, but I'll be damned if I'm not the hardest worker in there when I'm working. Like, that's the mentality you have to have. You have to be a killer when it comes to your workouts and your intensity. Otherwise, what are you doing? And
mhm.
I mean, that's
There's
I was just going to say that can be a real tough thing to wrap your mind around, especially seeing some of the, like, if you go to a big gym like that Paul and I do, there are some behemoths that walk around and you probably think to yourself, wow, these guys, they're probably working harder than me. But if you let that inkling of a thought develop in your mind, you're already behind. You have to look at that guy and say, yeah, you're big, but I'm going to outwork you today.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, because there's plenty of guys who are extremely genetically gifted, but they're not willing to put in the work. And it, like, they're like, I can think of
Let's
freaking 5 off the top of my head.
let's talk Big Ramy.
Yeah, he like it's just like it sucks seeing that, because it's like, dude, I would kill to have these guys' genetics, and they're taking them for granted because they think that they don't have to put in that much effort to get results, which is true. But if they really put in the effort and put in like a good work ethic into it, they can go fucking so far. And
Hmm.
like, I have to put in that much more effort because my genetics aren't there. I respond really well to anabolics, which is great because not everybody does, but like, I have to put in that much more effort to get to where I want to go. Whereas some guys just put on muscle and lose fat like fucking no tomorrow. And I don't get that. I don't have that luxury. It's just the reality, and it sucks, but it's what I have to work with. And genetics plays a huge role. And you know, with sports, it's a lot of it is talent. You know, there's a lot of it's talent that kind of is part of you, but like a lot of sports, like talent is not. I don't think it's necessarily genetic. It's just kind of like, I think it's kind of like ingrained in your head. Like, it just makes sense. Like, a lot of shit just makes sense, and you just like are good at things. But bodybuilding, you can is a skill. All of it's a skill. The talent comes in your genetics. Your genetics is whether or not you have talent. I guess like you can kind of say posing is a talent if it makes sense to you. Like, I don't really need much work to get in posing, but some people are constantly getting tweaked with their posing because it never makes sense to them. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't really necessarily call that talent, but with bodybuilding, it's just entirely just genetics. It's just all genetics, and if you don't have the genetics, it's just, you can't fix that. You can only just put in the work to make it better and to improve upon your weaknesses. And legs is no different. You know, some guys are just built to have legs. I'm built to have the separations between my quads, but the size is hard for me to gain in my quads. So like, yes, my I could always see all 3 heads of my quads, but am I building my teardrop that much? Not really. It's hard for me to build my quads like really high up, you know? So we got to work with our genetics at the end of the day. And that's just how it is. It's the
And
world.
not let it be an excuse.
Yeah.
Everything that you do has to be disciplined and intense, and you can't let anything be in the way of that. That's like when I coached my basketball, like my basketball team. I tell them like, you might not be the best person out there, you might not be the biggest person out there, but if you don't look someone up and down and say, I'm gonna like demolish you today and I'm the best person on this court, then you've already lost. And you have to have that mentality when it comes to lifting. And that also applies the Ronnie Coleman method, where if you tell yourself that the weight is heavy, you're lost. You lost already. You have
Mhm.
to look at that. You have to look at that weight and think, I'm gonna make you my bitch. Like that's why everyone quotes lightweight because it's the thing he shouted, but it was for a purpose. Like when he was doing his 800-pound squat, like and yelling lightweight before it, he's mentally telling himself, "This is weight. I'm gonna move. I can do this. There's no stopping me now." If he looked at that weight and said, "Oh, this is a lot of weight. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this," he's already lost. And that's what
Mhm.
so many people, I mean, again, not going to name drop anybody, but some people I've worked out with who, look at the weight that I'm doing and I know they can do that weight, and they see the weight that I'm doing and they go, "Oh, wow, it's a lot of weight." Like, don't tell me it's a lot of weight. Go lift and then maybe say afterwards, but in the moment or prior to it, you have to be like, it's the lightweight method. Yell at yourself. This is lightweight. I'm going to move this weight. Nothing's going to stop me right now. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the mentality you have to bring into this,
Ain't nothing but a
especially,
peanut.
especially with legs. I mean, especially with legs. Like squats are so daunting. Like especially when you feel it, like resting on your upper back, like you can very easily
Yeah.
convince yourself this is gonna kill me. And if you even let that thought in, you've lost. Like the
Mhm.
best leg workouts you have are on either a blank mind or more or less a cocky, arrogant mind, because separate the ego, but tell yourself you can move the weight, because if you can't tell yourself that, you won't be able to get the true, you know, lifting experience that you want to.
Yeah. I mean, when you put 3 plates on each side of a bar
It
and
hurts.
you
It
put
hurts
that
your
on your
back,
back, yeah, it's fucking wild. It's a fucking lot of weight. I mean, that's 315 pounds you got on your back, not to mention
especially
your
if you
body
don't
weight.
have. Well, I was gonna say, especially if you don't have like a developed upper back muscle, and it's riding on like just whatever you have back there, like almost like
Your
shoulder
scapula.
blade stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's like, oh god, like I can remember like loading a lot of weight. Like I have decent developed upper back now, but I can remember loading a squat on and just saying like, I almost tried to put it on my traps because I had traps compared to my my upper back area.
Mhm.
I mean, you do put on your traps, but I mean like your upper traps. I tried to like load it
Yeah.
almost like up on my,
On
like
your
near
neck
my,
almost.
yeah,
Yeah.
just because I had stuff there to support it. And like that, it's a lot. It can feel really fucking shitty because you're like, especially when you get to the weight where the bar starts to bend too, and you see that in the mirror, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's not good.
Yeah, like you for me I know it's heavy because my left shoulder starts to hurt holding it up and balancing it.
Yep.
Like I put 3 plates on there, my shoulder starts to hurt by the end of the set. I'm like, fuck, this is heavy because I'm fucking hurting. And then like you squat down and when you get back up and you explode out the bottom and it bounces,
Yep.
it's like, damn, this is heavy as shit. And it's like it's funny because like now that I'm squatting 3 plates on the regular, it's cool to see that because I used to like look up to that. I used to be like, damn, I could eat 2 plates. That's crazy. Now 2 plates, I'm like hitting for like 14, like no problem. But like I
Yep.
used to only hit it for like 8, like barely. And like with knee sleeves. Now I can do 2 plates for like 14 with like nothing. And for
I,
like nothing. Like it doesn't take much effort.
I
It's
already
wild.
fully understand that I'm going to need knee sleeves for the remainder of my leg workouts just because of how shot my knees are.
Yeah, I just use them for like 2 1/4, maybe 3 plates, and then like heavier. Like I'll do them for lunges because that's really heavy on your knees, and then like some other stuff here and there. But I try not to use them as much as I can. And also, guys, if you're bodybuilding, don't use knee wraps. Just use knee sleeves. They'll keep your knees nice and locked in, keep them straight. Knee wraps are really only really good for powerlifters and strongmen, and even then they're very inconsistent. So be careful of those. So just use knee sleeves. They're the exact same thing every single time, and they'll work. They'll help.
Hell yeah.
But with that being said, I mean, I think we can call it here. I think we had a good episode today. Good session.
Yeah, we covered a whole lot today.
Yep.
As always, guys, if you have questions, comments, concerns, feel free to reach out to us. We have the new website up now too, so go check that out. Of course, you can hit us on our socials if you really want to. But keep any and all things you want us to talk about, keep them coming. And we will see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.